take that stuff off, throw it in the washer.
Yeah, I can't slow down the chat. I'm not on the platform of YouTube. I'm actually in StreamYard. It doesn't have that feature. The person who asked that can't slow it down in StreamYard. Okay. Tommy Sanders says, Grand Sheik Taj Tarik Bey, do you know about the Nuremberg Code / Act?
Yeah, and guess what? It's being applied now to a lot of the owners of the United States Corporation Company who has been committing a fraud against humanity, and many of them, although it's not necessarily public, are being charged with the war crimes accordingly.
So what exactly is it? War crimes?
Yeah, you ever heard of Nuremberg trials?
Kind of.
You ever heard of Guantanamo, Cuba, Isabella? Some of the stuff is going on now. It's just not all public. However, we collectively, the nationals and some of the citizens, are charged with taking responsibility to organize and to show ourselves approved and become more competent in civilization principles, i.e. civics, so that we can start solving a lot of our own problems. And above all, start putting our stuff in trust to protect our property from criminal operators and imposters who have been acting as government and impostoring as officials when there are no official offices operating, for the offices are defunct. That's a fact. And that's been a fact for quite a while. It's not an opinion, that's a fact. And I know it's rough for all of us. However, we're going to take the bull by the horn and ride it.
Felix Amorbe says, can we enforce the Constitution in Guatemala with the Treaty of Peace and Friendship?
The principles are universal. That's what, see, the deal of it is you may not look at the instrumentality as an instrument, but the principles that undergird them are universal, because the problems that have befallen humanity are universal in their character. And most of the injury has been initiated by the hybrid Europeans operating from North America, from Fleet Street, England, and from the Vatican, and are being dealt with accordingly. Become cognizant of it so you can better address your problems in your local. And keep in mind, much of the remedy and cure for all of us will be essentially, even if it's on what you call temporal basis, will be local, by necessity, to protect yourself from absolute despotic and corrupt governments all across the planet.
Please. Christopher White asked, do you have a list of books we should be studying?
Remember, we, as far as fundamentally, we always tell people to minimally have at least 13 dictionaries in your library, which would include American Heritage Dictionary on English language, which includes Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, 3rd, 2nd preferably, because after the 5th, they start watering them down. Although those books will be useful, your more comprehensive law dictionaries would be the 4th edition and down. Ballantyne's Dictionary, Bouvier's law dictionaries, all these things that you can afford, restore your libraries. Also, Etymology Dictionary on the English language. The empire, the history of the empire of Moors in Europe, etc., would be a good series of books. also there's a few others. What I'm going to do, I'm going to write a list so that in the future, when you ask these questions, we're going to include some of them books on the flash drive, so that because it's really so many pieces of literature that you can have, but as fundamental functional tools that are useful to you right now, those are among them and necessary, truthfully. And also Weiss's concise handbook on trust law.
It's on the it's on the drive.
Yes, but I'm just saying these are, because a lot of the stuff we've made available to you already. However, for those who are listening who need to become more erudite in civil matters, in civics, etc., in organized government, etc., which is necessary because we're all being affected by it. You know, it's sort of like the corrupt leaders and religionists among our people have been keeping our people preoccupied with belief systems while we've been injured for lack of knowledge in civics that affects us all economically, politically, and in matters of heritability. And they've been sorely injuring us on multiple levels and taking advantage of the ignorance that have been promoted among us by fakers claiming to be spiritual teachers. And many of them have actually been part of the corruption. Absolutely. And you're going to find a lot about them too, them demons too, and their pull pits. Oh, yes. A lot of them ain't going to be able to walk the streets in the near future either.
Okay. Legendary 8 says, is that the reason why so many of those so-called CEOs are leaving their positions?
So-called stepping down? Absolutely, 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 absolutely. In the course of coming events, you're going to see a lot of your so-called preachers and pastors doing the same thing. Keep in mind, they never were separate. I'll say that much.
Okay. With our eyes ask, oh, wait a minute. Grand Sheik, we would like to hear your thoughts on reparations, i.e. HR 40.
Your reparations are taking place with your consciousness. The corruptors and the corrupt imposters of government will never, 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 never willingly or have the capacity to give you back any daggone thing. The only capacity they have to do is leave you the hell alone and get off of your estate because it's there for you already.
Julius Rulli says, is this a spiritual reenactment of the plague of 1666?
You got that right. Sister QV, you're talking about, huh? Yes, you're right. The fact of the matter is, what's being revealed is that never ended. That's what's happening. You know how even though they talk about slavery in a connotative metaphor, the concept that people will say, oh, they're trying to enslave us again, when the real deal of it is the connotative slavery never ended. As a matter of fact, it's more entrenched. And so look at that the same way as you look at the 1666 Sister QV Act. And of course, you already know all those private trusts and stocks of the United States Corporation Company are indeed those Sister QV trusts. And this is again why I've always told people, you're not going to capture the straw man. They will not allow it. However, that ain't stopping you from choking it. You know how you say, when you're, like you're a young child going to school, when your mom gives you a nice little brown bag with a peanut butter sandwich in it and some little cakes and cookies and stuff, and the bullies steal your cakes and cookies all the time, beat you up. Well, what you do, You get some of that paste off the lawn that your dog left there, and you put that in the sandwiches, and you pee in the juice, and after a while, it's not tasty to them. So if they keep stealing via the straw man, what you start doing is stop consenting. And so what has happened, and this is what's happening all around the world, and we've been telling you this for quite some time, the nations of the earth will stop buying U.S. Treasury bonds. Those Treasury bonds in that system, constructing their economic system for the stock market, was set up in around 1861, late 1861, 1862, and they altered the congressional records. And those Treasury bonds were built upon the backs of Moors, the people of the land, who they branded Negro, Black, Colored, Latino, and Indian, and that has been backing the stock market. And in the late years, they start using their own U.S. citizens, i.e., paleoliths, to stock their bond. And as of late, now they have sacrificed the middle class. This is why you see a lot of hybrid Europeans got these different talk shows and YouTube venues, and they're starting to tell you the real history. Why? Because the middle class has been dissolved. Now they have skin in the game, don't they? I told you all years ago they'd start telling the truth, because what? They're killing their estates. It ain't fun, is it?
Danielle Sanders is asking a question about what is narcolepsy, how does it relate to the mind, body, and spirit, and also what food should someone eat to cure this. I really think this should go towards, I know what narcolepsy is, but
that still goes back to the medbed situation,
right? And but even
vibration.
But Dr. Botanica,
yes.
I was going to say, I recommend a consultation.
Yes, do that, please.
Yeah,
interject that, please.
Yeah, I recommend, Danielle, that you get a consultation with Dr. Botanica, and I'm just putting up his link again so you can see that as you're hearing me say this, that there's his number and his contact information. So, medical advice like that, we'd rather pass that over to him, and he's also more. So there you go. You're gonna get the right information.
Because remember, you got light workers that are coming to the front in all walks of life.
Right.
And we can thank the ancestors for that.
Yeah. So for that question. Now, let's see if there's another one. I'm trying to, like I said, thank you for everyone who's putting good comments in the comments about the flash drive, USB drive. Thank you for those. Okay. Rocky Saraf, I hope I'm saying that right. Hello, Taj. Considering how this corona thing is going on, most of us blacks aren't getting the V. Would they try to bring in slavery again?
They've been doing it. And keep in mind, it's like this. Anybody that's dealing with anyone who's promoting the biological warfare against the people, you can ask the questions and ask for their signatures on a piece of paper. Can you show, and will you show, under the rule of discovery, that you have isolated the so-called sickness? Number one, is the sickness that you claim, is it by virtue of its microscopic size smaller than the fabric of all masks? Number two, while you're discussing having a cure for this sickness, can you give me your written report on the Tuskegee experiment with the same people that are promoting this serum and elixir, etc.? And there's a few more experiments that we could bring up and ask them to sign it. And watch how quick the conversation ends.
You know, like how smallpox vaccines ended up turning into HIV.
Oh, ask them about the patent number on HIV too, and who has it. And also ask who has the patent on the germs, on the biological warfare and the elixir that's introduced into potatoes that in certain businesses are their French fries, and who has the patent on that to also alter the genome of males and females that are creating gender problems right now, not by accident. And it's a popular called fast food restaurants, and they have patents on that too. So the biological warfare is not just in the intrusion into the crystal stream, it's also in the fast food.
Absolutely.
Particularly in potatoes.
And the arches, they love those those arches.
I'm just telling you what it is.
I'm telling you where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Dion Flife asks, what is the real meaning behind the American Medical Association removing gender from the birth certificate? Is it true if you change your gender, you have no rights?
In other words, you violate the laws of nature. You step outside the realm of your human structure, then they can interject you. That's what their intention is, and declassify you as human, but as property, not unlike what Monsanto did with the seeds, where they've been literally going on farms and suing farmers for using their seeds when the farmers never even bought their seeds, just because wind blew some of their seeds into their field. Do some research in that and understand what their plans are for a lot of humans. Now, don't mean that it ain't going to be interrupted, because, many are cognizant of what their plan is, but I'm telling you, that's part of their operative plan. And then research Margaret Sanger, and also research John D. Rockefeller and Frederick T. Gates, 1902, with the educational system. Then also research the Gates Foundation presently, and then research the patent office and many of these people who've been telling you one thing or the other, and recognize that they've been waging biological warfare against humanity. These are crimes against humanity, not just circumstantial misgivings.
Someone, Tommy Wayne, said that the Mon folk are paying for farmers to burn crops.
Yeah, that's part of the genocide program. And King Alfred. As a matter of fact, if it's available, can you pull up King Alfred book? Right, I want to read a page from that.
Is this it?
King Alfred, no, so it should have a blue cover, like pale blue cover.
Yeah.
It's King Alfred.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes. Clear enough.
This is some transcript provided for by Executive Order 11490, October 19, 1969. This executive order was authorized October of 1969 to counteract the quote-unquote minority, quote-unquote blacks, quote-unquote Indians, Latinos, Puerto Ricans, and poor whites in their rise from up under the depression and powers that be, quote unquote, the government, King Alfred. King Alfred, in the event of widespread and continuing and coordinated racial disturbances in the United States, King Alfred, at the discretion of the president, is to be put into action immediately. Silent Weapons, Executive Order 11490 King Alfred. This booklet contains vital excerpts from Executive Order 11490, October 19, 1969, King Alfred Plan, the Rex 84 Plan, concentration camps, Executive Order 11490 expanded, top secret, silent weapons for quiet wars, introductory programming manual, operations research, technical manual, TM-SW7905.1. And I'm going to read a couple of excerpts pages from Executive Order 11490. And these are exotic maps showing you that a lot of the geographical designations that you assume to be other countries are right here in North America, including many of the wars that you've been given in history. The memo from Executive Order 11490. Memo, National Security Council. Even before 1954, now keep in mind 1954, Dwight D. Eisenhower, President for the United States Corporation, etc., including their operations at Morocco, relinquishing jurisdiction at Morocco, and at that time counseling their honor in the operations of diversity of nationality with consular courts, etc., dealing with rights of peoples, etc., both property and persons, etc., and the relinquishing of jurisdiction at Morocco, which you can find documented, which I've written about in a couple of my books, etc. So keep this timeline in concept of your mind. So even before 1954, when the Supreme Court of the United States of America declared unconstitutional separate educational and recreational facilities, racial unrest and discord had become very nearly a part of the American way of life. But that way of life was repugnant to most Americans. Since 1954, however, that unrest and discord have broken out into widespread violence, which increasingly have placed the peace and stability of the nation in dire